Hi, my name is Brenda McGee, and this is Paranormal Encounters. Tonight I have a very special guest, and if you've ever heard of the creepy, eerie stories around the Bridgewater Triangle, you're not going to want to miss this. Welcome. I'm excited for tonight and my special guest, Kristen Good. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Now, can you tell us about the Bridgewater Triangle?
Sure, I can. Well, locally, it's pretty well known, but in the last few years, knowledge of the triangle has spread nationally and internationally, and there's quite a lot of enthusiasm and interest in it. The Bridgewater Triangle, as a concept, was first started in 1970 when a researcher by the name of Loren Coleman wrote an article for Boston Magazine. And he laid out a bunch of stories from strange murders, UFO sightings, Native American spirits, Bigfoot, Thunderbirds, and a few years later he included that same article in his book Mysterious America, and then it hit nationally. And the phenomenon and the interest just keeps growing. That was 30 years ago, and there's more interest in it now than ever.
Now, what do they consider like the most haunted place in the Bridgewater Triangle? Is there a certain area that people say, all right, it's more haunted than this area?
Well, most people would say Rehoboth, but I might have to beg to differ. Rehoboth definitely would be up there, but Abington is a very, very, very high energy town, which a lot of the stories are unknown at this point, but they have everything from UFO sightings, Bigfoot, the strange murders, the strange deaths, drownings, tons of hauntings. So that's just kind of like an untapped area in Bridgewater Triangle research. I lived in Abington for a few years, so I I learned a lot. I was really, really surprised. I thought I was moving to a safe town.
Right.
Little did I know it was one of the strangest towns in the Bridgewater Triangle, and Abington is the northern apex of the Bridgewater Triangle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and up until I moved there, the only story I had ever heard was the Black Dog of Abington story in 1976, where a dog had killed two ponies, and a farmer came out one morning and found the dog eating their necks, and then the dog was on the loose for 3 days. And when they finally tracked him down, they shot at him, the police, and it just disappeared.
Oh, wow.
Never to be seen again.
I love it.
Yeah, Abington has so much more. So Rehoboth definitely is up there, for sure. East Bridgewater, though, around the center, is one of the biggest radiuses of high energy in the Bridgewater Triangle. Plymouth, which is technically not in the Bridgewater Triangle, but I would definitely consider it part of the Bridgewater Triangle, is probably the most haunted town, in my opinion, in this area.
Yeah. I tell you, living in Rehoboth and experiencing some of the things, it definitely is a lot of energy and very heightened in certain areas. And I have come across very strange things, which you and I have experienced together, which we won't talk about because we know the repercussions for it.
Yes, we do.
Which people don't understand, but sometimes there's these things that don't want to be known, and they will make their presence known if they even know that you're talking about them.
And actually, when I was driving down here, I thought, should we talk about it? People will love it. But then I thought, no.
That's why I never say the name.
we can't go there. We can't go there. But something very strange happened to Brenda and I.
We did, and we
last summer?
It was, and we were actually supposed to be in a documentary, being interviewed for a movie.
Yeah, Misters and Monsters in America.
Yes.
And didn't we just luck out by getting out safe?
We were, yeah. So we were very lucky, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. No, I firmly do believe that the more energy you put into things and notice things,
right,
the more, I tell people if they're having paranormal problems in their house, their first reaction is they think it's cool.
Right.
But then I say, just pay it no mind. Just ignore it.
Right.
Yeah. Because like for my own personal experience, the more you focus on it, the more it focuses on you. You got your eye on it, it has its eye on you. Yeah. And you don't want to be under that radar.
No, and you don't want to provoke.
No.
No.
My philosophy in ghost hunting and investigating has completely changed in the last year.
It has.
I'm just ultra careful now. When I first started this, I had no fear.
Right.
I kind of thought it was a hobby, something fun, but what I realized after 5 years is it's all very, very real. Yeah. And it's very frightening, and you need to be extremely cautious.
Now, can you give us some examples of some of the things that you've researched or come across that you would feel that everybody would be interested in?
I have so much research, and it's in so many different areas. It's like this. It's just like tentacles going everywhere from this, one concept. But one of the more interesting areas that I've studied extensively is Lake Nippenicket, half in Bridgewater, half in Raynham, and I had been there before, but just like kind of like the front where most people know about where the boat ramp is. But one day I got the craziest inbox message. And this girl was truly frightened, and she told me a story about how she had gone down to this beach that the kids party at down Lake Nippenicket, and her friend started to hear rustling in the woods, and it was just like the tree line was just beyond, like it's a little beachy area, and then it's like a tree line. So they started to walk out, and every time they walked, it would walk. Every time they stopped, it would stop, and they started hearing hooves.
Oh, wow.
And then they saw horns. So this is how I discovered this area, because I was like, the next day, I got out a map, and I'm like, I'm going there.
Right.
So you go out this long dirt road, and you walk through a little path, and it's the most beautiful little oasis that you can imagine. It's just like, it invites you to like go in the water. Like you get all excited.
Right.
Because when I went there, I completely forgot why I had gone there in the first place. And the first thing I did was ran home and like got a kayak and got my kids and come on, let's go. And then my children were like, they're out playing, like trying to catch frogs. And then they said, Mommy, a frog just talked to us and it tried to get us in the water. And I'm like, okay, we're leaving. We're out of here. There's been so many deaths in that lake that they banned swimming in the 1990s.
Wow.
And the depth of the lake is 3 feet on an average, but the deepest point is 6 feet. So these deaths don't make any sense.
No.
And then another crazy story I heard also related to the nip, and it kind of made sense of why maybe these deaths were happening, And it was a girl who told me that she had an experience in the 80s when she was a teenager there. And they were out partying, and she got into a fight with someone, and the next thing she knew, she was in the water, but she was only like 1.5 feet in the water, but she felt arms pulling her down.
Oh my gosh.
And she had to be pulled out. Well, after that, I heard a few more stories like that of people that felt like arms were pulling them down into the water.
Wow.
So it's a place, honest to God, I wouldn't ever step my foot in. Yeah. I have kayaked there before.
Yes.
And to be honest, I just kept feeling knocking underneath the kayak, and I was scared to death.
Wow.
And there are islands out there that are ancient Native American burial grounds. But I have a friend who's Native American and said, do not ever put your feet on that ground. So I don't have enough curiosity to go out on those islands. I'm all set.
That's the difference with you and I is we know our limitations. We don't go to cause issues. Mm-hmm. We don't want to reap havoc. We go in with utmost respect.
Well, that's because we believe. I think that half the people think it's a big joke and they're looking for proof. I think you and I already know what's out there.
Right.
So definitely Lake Nippenicket is one of the high, strangeness places. Boating accidents, too. People falling through the ice. Snowmobilers going through the ice. And then another strange thing was on the largest, there's 3 islands, on the largest island, I came across this article from the 40s where they used to use the island for outings. And there actually used to be a park out there called Pilgrim Park, and you could rent canoes and everything. And they were having a party, and a man that couldn't swim walked out on what they called the shelf. Now, the shelf is what I'm assuming was a Native American fishing weir, where they had just put stones out to fish. And he was walking out there, and then just put his arms up and just kept walking and drowned. He couldn't swim.
Oh, my gosh.
And then a couple of years ago, I got a story from someone who was in their 20s, and him and his friend had hiked out, canoed out, camped on that, and the same thing happened to his friend. He woke up in the middle of the night looking for his friend. His friend was just walking out, like brainwashed into the water. He had to save him.
Wow. And he saved him?
Yeah.
Did he have to like wake him up? Was he in like a
He said it was
state?
like he was in a trance state. And all I could think about was that article about the man who couldn't swim that for some reason just walked right out into the water.
You almost wonder if while they're sleeping, something goes in and then has them do that.
I don't know.
Nothing would surprise me.
Nothing would surprise me.
I know.
I mean, some of my favorite stories about the Bridgewater Triangle are just like some of like the crazy things that you just go, that couldn't have happened. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like one of my favorite stories is a mother and her daughter are driving down Route 105 in Middleborough, and they somehow collide with a cow. So their car goes spinning off to the side of the road, and they're like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And all of a sudden they hear, "Move," from the back seat.
Oh, you kidding?
They turn around, and the cow's just sitting in the back seat. How that happened, I have no idea, but this is the best part. They towed the car with the cow in it back to the farm, opened the door, and the cow just walked right into the barn. And nobody was hurt during the accident.
How crazy is that? I've never heard that one.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like, just stories like that. And then this one wasn't so funny. A man during broad daylight collided with an owl on his motorcycle right near Hockomock Swamp and was killed instantly.
Oh, wow.
Just, come
Yeah.
on. This place is weird.
Yeah.
And just like you said, nothing would surprise me. Nothing. Seriously.
Now what about UFOs?
UFO.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've seen them, so I have
Yeah.
to believe them,
I'll never forget the night that you had posted, has anyone seen any lights, like the 3 lights? And I was in Boston at the time, and all these people in different places saw it at almost the same exact time, but in different places.
Yeah, and you know what? I go out on a limb when I put stuff out there like that, because
I
I'm
know.
sure a lot of people just think I'm absolutely nuts. But for people that really, really want to see something, I know the patterns of these things now. And when they come out, they're usually out for a little while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I say look up. And sometimes I'll get like inundated with people that run outside and look up and they're like, oh my God. And then there's other people like, there's nothing out there, you're nuts.
No.
But
I've seen them.
I've had a lot of footage. Now, what's strange about the UFO phenomena in the Bridgewater Triangle now is that predominantly the same type of craft, fireballs. Up until maybe 6 years ago, like if you looked on MUFON about all the UFO reports, every single one would be like a different shape. You know what I mean? Like this one was a triangle shape, this one was round, this one was silver. But now, they're all the same. They're all fireballs. And I'd have to say that the fireball as a phenomenon in the Bridgewater Triangle started in 2011, because that's the first report that I got.
Right.
And then I started seeing them when I moved to Abington. And I just kept my camcorder handy. And I'm a horrible... I have really shaky hands, so my footage isn't that good.
I've seen some of your footage.
I mean, it's weird.
It's okay, though.
It's weird. So I lived in Abington, thinking this was a safe town, and the UFOs were the first thing that I noticed. And I realized that I was living like in a UFO like superhighway.
Yeah.
Because this blew my mind. I got this message from this girl who said, I'm really scared. I saw these, like a fleet of UFOs go over my house, and they were going so fast. It was like 5 or 6 of them. I tried to take a picture. It's blurry, but here's the picture. She sends me the picture. And then Actually, it had happened in the past, like in the past. It just happened then. And then it rang a bell. I was like, where does that story sound familiar? And her picture looks so familiar. So I go back in my files, and I realize that somebody else on that same night caught that same fleet of UFOs in Abington, a quarter of a mile away from her, about 30 seconds before. To make it even stranger, there was this fantastic posting on, well, it was on MUFON. Someone grabbed it and put it on YouTube. And it's someone that caught it on video. And there's lots and lots. Whenever you see a UFO video on YouTube, there's usually lots of swearing because people are just so freaked out.
Right.
But at one point in the video, it looks like a still shot of the picture that the guy had sent me. It's like in the same spot, the same exact gas station. They're right over there. But his video was great because it actually, showed them how they were moved that fast. And,
right.
And then a couple weeks ago, I gave a talk at the Historical Society in Abington, and I couldn't believe how many people that seemed completely normal and rational and, came up to me and told me about their UFO sightings in Abington.
Amazing.
And the best one was a daytime sighting. Daytime sighting is quite unusual. So this one was like a fleet over an area that I have pinpointed as a hot spot in Abington. So crazy.
I'll tell you, I love everything paranormal and all, but for some reason when it comes to that, I just get the creeps.
Yeah, I don't know. What are they doing? What are they there for?
I just try to, I don't research. I won't go and investigate anything like that. I just, for some reason, I just was like, no, thank you.
Well, there's so many unknowns,
Yeah.
I started being curious, but then I started getting freaked out because I'm looking at my videos and I'm like, it's not a planet. It's not a plane.
Right.
There's some kind of strobe light that goes through. It's almost like it has a nucleus. If you look at them close.
Right.
And if you look at anybody's Fireball, UFO videos on YouTube, they look exactly like mine.
Right.
Another hot spot for them, they started up in Providence before they started up, closer to the triangle.
Oh, wow.
But Providence is so close to the triangle.
Yeah.
The map is inaccurate.
It is.
I definitely believe that the energy goes down to at least to the Tiverton, Narragansett area up to the Boston Harbor Islands, which is all Native American land,
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yep.
So now, crazy, weird animals and things like that, I know you've...
Yeah, actually, that's one of my favorite topics of animals that just appear here and just simply do not belong here. Recently, in 2005, there were 5 alligator sightings in the Bridgewater Triangle in the span of 4 months.
Wow.
That's really, I just think that's strange. And that's another theme of the Bridgewater Triangle, that these things happen in rashes.
Right.
Accidents, murders. Have you noticed how quiet Route 24 has been?
Yes.
It's not going to last for long.
Right.
It will get back, and I don't know how long it's going to take, but the Brockton Enterprise every day will be like Killer Highway again.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing's changed about the highway. They haven't done anything different. It happens in rashes. Yeah. So 2010 was a horrible year. 2011 was a really quiet year. 2012 was a horrible year. And then 13 and 14 haven't been bad. They've been normal, But the alligator sightings, it was like I said, a rash of sightings. Brockton, 2 in Middleborough, 1 in Rehoboth, 5-foot alligator in that hot spot in Abington that I was just mentioning, Island Grove. 2004, I believe, some kids came out of their house one morning in East Bridgewater, and there was a baby seal on their front lawn. And then, and then 2 weeks later, kids came out of their house in Middleborough, and there was a baby seal on their lawn. 2 different breeds. One was a harbor seal, and one was a baby herp seal. But this Middleborough story was adorable because the kids were like, "Can we keep it, Mommy?"
You almost think, did something pick it up and drop it?
Well, I mean, like,
you know what I mean? Like,
it obviously came down from Narragansett, the Narragansett Bay, but the aquarium came down and they studied it, and they said, we've never ever seen a seal travel so far inland before, but then 2 of them.
Right.
You know, and then last summer, the beluga whale.
Yeah,
and
that was crazy.
And the basking shark.
Yeah.
And that was in a span of like 2 months. Mm-hmm. Like, how does that happen? How does a species, a whale that belongs in the Arctic Ocean, end up in Taunton?
Right.
You know? Everybody that's familiar with the Bridgewater Triangle knows about the large cat sightings.
Yeah.
And that's not, you know, a myth.
Right.
That really happened. 1972 in Rehoboth. Women playing golf had to run off the the green because they saw this huge mountain lion, you know? And then that was the only sighting, and then it disappeared. 1994, there was a large cat that was called anything from puma, mountain lion. They weren't sure what it was, but that was seen everywhere. Mansfield, Easton, Stoughton, all over the place. But it was never found.
Right.
Same thing with the alligator. Well, a couple of the alligators were found.
Yeah.
But the one in Island Grove never was. You know, I mean, they said, oh, it won't survive the winter. And yeah, it probably wouldn't, but it's Bridgewater Triangle.
Yeah.
So who knows? I never would let my kids swim in there.
No.
Trying to think what other ones. Flocks of peacocks in Freetown. Emus. A dead African several was found in the early 90s in Easton in the Hockomock Swamp.
The Hockomock Swamp.
Yeah, just really strange things. Personally, I've never had any weird experiences in the Hockomock Swamp. But I've also never been there at night, and I've only been to about 5 areas of it. But I always think it's so funny when people contact me and say, can you tell me how to get into Hockomock Swamp? I want to explore the Hockomock Swamp. And I just tell them, it's part of the Bay Circuit Alliance. It's like a public thing.
Right.
Just go online, and there's clear maps. Just stay on the trails, and it's quite lovely and beautiful and peaceful. So take your kids and go.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like that's just one of the examples, though, of how things, you know, myth. Myth, you know.
Yeah. Well, they trust you. That's probably why they message you. And I'm sure you get some, you know, kind of cuckoo people out there too.
Oh yeah.
You know, they're always, I get it all the time. Oh, where should I go? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to tell you where to go, you know, wherever you want to go. But there's plenty of places.
Yeah, I won't go there. Like, do you think I would ever send anyone to a place that I know the energy is bad?
No, and that's what they say. Oh, where's the
and you know what?
most haunted place?
And that makes them more curious. Do you ever notice that? When you say, like, you really shouldn't go there, you shouldn't put your feet near that, they're like, oh, now I really, really want to go.
And they do. And that's why I won't recommend any place, because I don't want the responsibility.
Oh, my God.
I don't want that on my conscience.
I'm the same way. It's like, no, you know, I'll tell some sublime places to go, some interesting places, like, you know, the rocks, you know, there's so many archaeological features that are so unusual and super mysterious in the Bridgewater Triangle, you know. And I try to be like a kind of a preacher of like anti-ghost hunting, like be careful, you know what I mean?
Right. Unless you know what you're doing.
Yeah, it's like saying like I'm gonna go play in the ocean and I can control the ocean.
Right.
It's like it's a force that you can't reckon with, and it's way more powerful than you.
Yeah.
And how stupid do you have to be to think that you could control it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But there are people out there that think they can.
Because they don't.
And that they're untouchable.
Because they don't believe.
Right.
Or they're working off complete ego.
I love that word. And you know something though, they'll test just to see, and until something happens, they're going to continue to do it until they have to prove. It's almost like they have to prove, like say what we're talking about or whatever. Who knows? You know, they're going to go out and say, "Well, I'm going to try it and see if something happens." And
then there's another thing, and you probably know this too. You and I could go someplace and stuff would happen, but somebody else would have no experience whatsoever.
Right. And I always say that when the team's out and we're at somebody's house or something because they're having activity, I'll say, if you're going to be with me, just be prepared because you will have an experience. Because they'll communicate and things will happen. So if you're okay with that, then you can, you know, come with me or whatever.
Do things come out in your photographs often?
Always.
Okay.
But my EVPs, I have to say, I get grade A, and it's
I've heard
crazy.
some of them.
Yeah,
on my telephone.
Yes, you have, and I think I sent you one too.
I get things in my photographs all the time. People, even my mother's like, "Why do you get this stuff in your pictures?"
Yeah.
Like all the time.
It's because they
everywhere,
like it. Yeah.
everywhere I go, it's crazy.
Well, time is running out. I have to say,
How
I
could
truly.
that be? This was so much fun. You're gonna have to have me back.
I am definitely going to have you back. I truly enjoyed it. And to everybody out there, if you have any questions, if you have any experiences you can't explain, you need help with, you can email me at paranormalencounterstv9@gmail.com. And thanks for watching.